Hi, everybody.
Hi,
This
guys.
is Shaman and who were you? Yolanda from Harper Therapy. We're just having fun this morning.
Who are we and what are we doing?
What are we doing here?
This guy is trying to figure out a way to get up on the couch because Shaman and I are here. Toby's here.
Yep.
Toby, our therapy dog, is right there. And then Hobbs is trying to figure out how he's going to get in on our live too.
I keep trying to tell him there's no more room at the end.
He'll make room.
Yeah, he will.
He's good at that. He knows how to ask for what he wants. See,
he knows how to take what he wants.
wants.
So we wanted to come at you today and talk a little bit about, or give a little bit of a sneak peek of our sneak preview, whatever.
Yeah, preview
of our couples workshop coming up in September 21st.
September 21st, we're going to host a full-day couples communication workshop to help you and your partner learn how to have a different way of communicating.
Right, lunch included, right?
Lunch included, because most times when couples call, they are wanting to improve communication.
Right, that's a big thing.
So, you can come to weekly sessions. You can do like 6 weeks in a row of weekly sessions, or you can come to our workshop where we'll cover these tools in one day.
Probably learn a lot of the same skills.
Yeah, the foundations.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because communication is it's like you said, foundational to everything. So,
And we want to help couples learn a different way of communicating. Because really, we know how to communicate. We communicate about schedules. We communicate about responsibilities, chores, kids, dogs.
Right. So when it comes to what we're talking about today and communication, this is, I think, I've been thinking about this one all week because we kind of plan these out, right?
Because we're thoughtful about whether it appears so or not. We are actually thoughtful about
we actually think about what we might say, even though I know it never lines up that way, and I never say what we actually plan to say. But I've been kind of thinking about this one on and off all week. It's foundational to communication, but fighting fair.
Fighting fair.
But particularly taking the time out.
Yeah.
While you're fighting fair.
Right. Because that is totally counterintuitive, right?
Right. Yeah. It requires some rules.
Well, it requires some intention for sure. But think about it. We use the tool of timeout in other areas in our lives, definitely in parenting, right? In the parenting realm. If you have a tantruming 2-year-old and you are trying to have a logical conversation, that is not going to happen, right? So, hey, Christy. Yeah. Yes, we're communicating about our communication together.
I guess.
Tools to help you communicate together more effectively.
Right.
And part of that is learning how to have the difficult conversations, including the intense ones or fights. Yeah,
it's fights, right? We all do it. Every couple fights.
Absolutely.
The severity might be a little different, but and how often you fight or whatever, but
Yeah.
all of us disagree. All of us take a side and want to fight through something.
Yeah, but again, this idea of timeout is not new to most of us, right? We use it with our kids. There are certain, like even talking about kids, and if your child plays sports, a lot of the ball fields now are requiring a timeout, a moratorium. If a parent is upset about something that happens on the ball field before they communicate about what they're upset about.
Yeah, don't talk to the coach for 48 hours. Let yourself cool off. Yeah, there's actually some interesting stuff in that space. And relationships can kind of use the same thing.
Totally. So, sneak peek for the workshop, and one of the ways that we can improve communication by putting this into place.
Timeouts.
What are your thoughts? What have you been thinking about this?
Okay, well, here's the thing. Here's my struggle with this all week.
Yeah.
I think if you're mature enough, to follow the rules, right? The ground, because you have to lay out ground rules with this whole thing.
Here's an important starting point. You have to have this framework, and this is one of the reasons why we are helping couples set time aside, right? Because we're not intentional about setting time aside to put down this framework ahead of time, right?
Right. You don't. So you think everything's going to be peaches and roses, right?
And look, the time to start having this conversation about a timeout is not when you need one.
Right.
That's not the time to start having this conversation. So it's coming to an agreement ahead of time. Like, what are some of the situations that happen when we are trying to communicate about something and things get intense? And then, it's like that voice in the back of your head that's like, stop talking.
Right.
Stop talking now. This is where things are going to unravel. Stop talking now. Right?
Right. And she actually says that when we're...
No, I say that to my...
No, you say stop talking right now.
So you come out, you have an agreed upon method of saying time out, and one of the ways that we have our own interaction is like I need a timeout.
Right. It's very hard because it's adhering to rules that you lay down.
Right.
And it's weird because we do it in every other aspect of life.
Yeah. But here's the thing. We are setting the framework to have a different kind of conversation, right? Because the old patterns of interacting where we're continually stepping on each other's toes, those aren't working for us.
Right.
Shocker.
Right.
Like having the same old fight is exhausting, and it takes a toll on the relationship.
And expecting some kind of new outcome from
expecting some kind of different outcome is not going to happen, right? So it's getting clear about that and sitting down together and saying, you know what, as much as we wish that it didn't come to it, sometimes it's more beneficial for us to step away from the conversation. Right? So it doesn't deteriorate, because what happens is when it deteriorates, those things that get said, you can't take those things back.
Right.
And oftentimes that causes more damage.
Well, and we say things driven so emotionally.
Right. So when we are hooked by emotion in our conversations, when we have that grab, right? Whatever the emotion is, whether it's anger or hurt, right?
Right.
That is the prime time to say, I need a timeout. So it's agreeing about that call for timeout ahead of time. You could do the traditional timeout.
Right.
You can say, I need for you to stop talking, or I need to take a break.
Right.
You can be humorous about it and use a code word like sassafras or asparagus or whatever, and that will help to bring some humor into the situation as well, right? But the timeout is about me. When I call a timeout, it's about me. It's about look, I'm recognizing I'm at a state where if this continues, things are going to happen that are outside of my integrity.
That's one of the things I thought about this week. Because, yes, the timeout should be about me. Often, maybe that's where I struggle with it, because I'm like, oh, you don't want to talk to me.
Right.
And it's not about me. It's about, I can't talk to you right now. Right?
I am not the best version of myself.
Right.
I have this conversation. Right. And so it is. It's about me. It's about recognizing that if I continue in this, things are going to unravel and go downhill. Right. And it's not going to be beneficial. It's not going to be helpful for me, for you, or for our relationship. But you bring up a good point, because oftentimes in relationships, one partner might be the withdrawer and the other partner is the pursuer, right? And sometimes those are interchangeable. Sometimes we just kind of switch places with that.
Right.
But a lot of times the withdrawer needs to withdraw, but the other person feels like they're left hanging if you don't have this framework in place.
Right. And if you have these ground rules set and you understand this is the protocol that we're going to interact by.
And hey, I need a timeout right now, but let's come back to this conversation when we're both calmer.
Right.
That's an important key.
So that's the contract there.
Right. That's the contract that you're setting with your partner.
Right. That we are coming back to this. In good faith,
right.
We are going to come back to this conversation after the emotions have kind of subsided.
Right. And then that way we're setting up the conversation to be successful, right? And so it's important to have the framework. It's important to have the conversation ahead of time so you have an agreement, the contract about the process.
Right.
It's important to honor it in the moment.
Right. So what does that look like that we're coming back to this?
Right.
It's like an interval or something, right?
Yeah. So in that moment, if I'm calling a timeout, then we have contracted ahead of time. We have this agreement.
Right. We've established these rules.
Right. That, okay, we're going to step aside. We're going to step apart for a few minutes, and then, hey, let's touch base in 20 minutes.
Right.
Or whatever the agreed upon time
is. Or an
is.
hour or 2 hours.
So usually it takes at least 20 minutes if you are in a heightened state of like intense emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a good 20 minutes to be able to calm down.
Right.
Now, during that 20 minutes, my job, if I'm stepping away, if I'm calling for the timeout, my job is not to ruminate and like spin and intensify those emotions anymore. My job is to focus on calming, right? Calming down.
Yeah, because if you do that, the opposite can happen.
Yeah, then you just explode when you get back. So my job is to step away, to take a walk, to listen to some music, to pet the dog, right?
Right.
And, the other person's job is to agree to like, okay, partner, I understand that you are not stepping away from me in this situation. You're not stepping away from my relationship. We're both stepping away from this going downhill.
Right.
Right. And so, there's no stopping your partner. Right. That's the contract. That's what you agree to. Right.
Right.
And you both agree to do your own work to calm down so that when you come back.
Yeah. The idea is we're going to come back and have a productive conversation about this.
Yeah. So when we come back to each other, we come back in good faith, right? That I'm going to be a better version of myself than 20 minutes ago or an hour ago, or maybe even like overnight or a full day.
Right.
Sometimes it does take that period of time, especially if it's an ongoing, pretty intense topic.
So where can somebody learn more about this?
Where can somebody learn more about this? We have a full-day workshop that is coming up September 21st. This is one of the tools, one of many, that you will learn. And you'll learn this tool at a deeper level. And we'll kind of work through some more of kind of the things that that can get in the way of this coming into place and being helpful, and give you some deeper tools about that. So the link is right here in the post. We are reserving to 5 couples, just so that we can make it a really helpful day, but also have a space where people feel comfortable. And look, in case you haven't noticed, we like to joke around. We like to have a good time.
Right.
So it's not going to be heavy. It's not going to be like dredge in misery.
Why not?
No. It's going to be very serious.
Right.
We're going to learn serious tools. Right? No. So we will bring some playfulness to it, right? Because that's part of what helps to have hard conversations too, is keeping some humor and inviting some playfulness into the relationship.
Helps with retention too.
Yeah. So if you have any questions, give us a call at 813-434-3639. Otherwise, reserve your spot today. And happy Thursday.
Yep.
We'll see you guys soon.
No. Will it let me end broadcast?